As part of its advocacy for an improvement in Nigeria's non-oil export contribution to the country's GDP, Zenith Bank Plc hosted its 2023 International Trade Seminar, discussing the theme, Nigerian non-oil export industry, the present, the future. In his opening remarks, the Group Managing Director and CEO of Zenith Bank Plc, Mr. Ebenezer Onyeagwu, highlighted the various non-oil export initiatives that the financial institution has supported.
It will be important for me to take us through the achievements we have been able to record since we started this program. First is that we've been able to influence policy direction with regard to how non-oil export business is being conducted. One of them is the fact that there is a policy recommendation for extending the repatriation proceeds of non-oil export proceeds from 90 to 180 days. It used to be 80 days in one of our programs. We came up with that idea, and this has since been adopted. The policy that makes it mandatory for shippers not to carry export without a Nigerian export proceeds form number was also from this seminar. We also recommended the development of the automation of the Nigerian export proceeds form and the non-commercial exports form, which has led to improvement and transparency in the processing, recording, and reporting of export transactions in Nigeria. We further recommended the harmonization of activities of the various agencies at the port. We also have a very effective collaboration with the Nigerian Export Promotion Council in training and retraining non-oil exporters in Nigeria, including NYC members. We have also come up with a program that will cater for SMEs with our Zero to Hero program. Essentially, what the Zero to Hero program speaks to is the fact that if you have never done export before, we provide you the platform of incubation, the platform for training, the platform for you to understand what export is about, and we also expose you to the rudiments of sourcing export materials as well as documentation. We take it further by also assisting in identifying possible and potential export markets liaising with the Nigerian trade missions abroad. Now, if you look at the slides that is being shown right now, we started this journey in 2016. You will recognize that on a year-to-year basis, you can see, although marginal, improvement in terms of contribution of non-oil exports. Since the story started, we started advancing it. You can see the gradual and steady increase. The one for 2020 is understandably so because of the impact of COVID. So talking about the future, what do we expect? What's our expectation? The inefficiencies at the port has to stop. I'm glad the custom representative is here. You see, like in my various engagement with His Excellency, the Secretary General of AfCFTA, he talks about the fact that the prosperity of Africa is in our hands, that nobody, no foreigner will develop Africa. We have to lead the way for others to follow. But what we have done in Africa most of the time is that we are waiting for the foreigners to, no, we need to lead the way. So which is where we talk about the idea of the African Continental Free Trade Zone. We expect that the commencement of the implementation of this agenda will change the fortune for not just Nigeria, for the whole of Africa. And in the course of this event today, you can see the table laid out where the MOU between Zenith Bank and African Continental Free Trade Area will be executed. The MOU will be for Zenith to develop, we'll be developing the smart AfCFTA portal, which is going to serve as a trade portal that will showcase African products and services where they can be found. With the development of this portal, one of the capabilities we are going to build in there is that you can sit in every part of Africa and market your products and services. You can sit in every part of Africa, identify whatever products and services you require that are in Africa.
Dr. Kingsley Obiora, Deputy Governor, Economic Policy, representing the Acting Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, provided global and domestic context to the need for non-oil export promotion.
If you look at the equation for gross domestic product, exports enter not only as an addiction with a multiplier effect, it enters as an endogenous variable, something that you can control fully by yourself. And so we cannot grow at 3.2% and expect to pull 31% of us living below the poverty line. That is why I'm very excited that Zenith has continued its tradition to call attention to non-oil exports. I saw the chart that Dr. Onyeagwu put on the board, 1.2% non-oil exports to GDP ratio. In the decade between 2001 and 2011, the non-oil exports to GDP ratio for Nigeria was 0.8%. And you can imagine that in the next decade, so from 2012 to 2022, I looked at the board, they are still at 1.2%. So we need to be growing much faster. Countries that are way smaller than us are doing much better. It might interest you to know that non-oil exports from Netherlands is 29% of their GDP. Most times they do $108 billion in non-oil exports. Now keep in mind that Netherlands is smaller than Niger State, actually half the size of Niger State. I'll give you another example. Ireland is a country that sits on just about 70,000 square kilometers, and they routinely do non-oil exports of $170 billion. So we can do better. Dr. Ebenezer has shown us on the board what each region can, facilitate. Each region can pay attention to. We have all it takes. We're lucky too that we have a government whose economic philosophy, I might say, can be encapsulated in market-driven initiatives while also protecting and engendering the egalitarian bedrock of our society. So there cannot be a better time for us to grab this our future, work on non-oil exports, and make sure that we grow beyond the 1.2% that we are currently producing at.
Mr. Segun Awolowo, Secretary of the National Action Committee of the African Continental Free Trade Area, stressed the need for a non-oil exports-led Nigerian economy.
The global drive towards green energy has further made it imperative for Nigeria to develop its non-oil sectors. All exporting countries will be impacted in three ways by the global energy revolution, namely, 1, capital loss due to abandonment of hydrocarbon reserves. 2, economic losses as the Treasury may no longer be able to fund the public sector with oil revenues. 3, loss of competitive geopolitical advantage as hydrocarbons are replaced by global or regional energy access to VRE sources, that is solar, wind, hydro, etc. I cannot emphasize enough that an export-led industrial revolution is what is needed for Nigeria and indeed Africa. Just like I did in 2015, I would like to utilize this special occasion to make another clarion call for action to the private sector, and more specifically, the Zenith Bank. You must do all you can to carry large, micro, small, medium enterprises and support them to participate effectively in the AfCFTA, particularly through tailored financial products and capacity building. You will play a key role in facilitating trade between Nigerian businesses and businesses in African countries where you are currently present. That is Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Gambia, while also expanding your footprint to other African countries. I know in my lifetime I want to see Zenith Bank in every country in Africa. You must not only be known as a non-oil export bank, but also as the AfCFTA bank. And with the signing of this agreement, it is clear that that is the ambition of Zenith Bank. I have great hopes and confidence that just as you did with the Zero Oil Plan, you will also do with AfCFTA. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I want to remind us that the responsibility to build Africa lies in our hands. We must take bold, audacious, accelerated steps towards ensuring that we achieve the Africa we want. And most importantly, make sure Africans are the primary beneficiaries of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement.
The Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, speaking at the event, emphasized the need for Africa to enhance and harness its productive capacity to be globally competitive.
We know that there are countries that are well poised to take advantage of the AfCFTA because they have the productive capacity, the export capacity. But we want the AfCFTA to benefit all countries and all economies, big and small. And that is why we have introduced the AfCFTA Adjustment Fund, which already has been capitalized by over $1 billion. And the Adjustment Fund is intended to assist those countries that today may not have the productive capacity to invest in the machinery that is required and in any other productive function that is required for them to take advantage of the AfCFTA. And so I want to encourage today Nigerian exporters, investors, manufacturers to consider the entire AfCFTA market, all of the 47 countries that have ratified the agreement, as your market, your export market, so that we use the AfCFTA to scale up our production, to enhance our competitiveness. Your products are seen in Southern Africa. Your products are seen, or services, in East Africa. Take advantage of this market of 1.4 billion people. Nigeria's exports to the rest of the continent in 2020 were estimated to be $6.4 billion, or 19% of total exports. Again, that may appear to be a deficit on the face of it, but it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to use the AfCFTA to export beyond the ECOWAS region. So there clearly is an opportunity for Nigeria to fully harness the synergies and complementarities presented by the African market and take advantage of the scale opportunities that it presents.
It featured 2 panel sessions which discussed Nigerian non-oil exports industry growth opportunities and harnessing the opportunities in service exports. Mr. Mohammed Babandede, Controller Nigerian Customs Service Exports Command, Ijora, and Mr. Jason Njoku, CEO, Iroko TV, speak further on the prospects for non-oil exports promotion in Nigeria.
One of our key responsibilities is to ensure that we facilitate legitimate trade. And by that, it means we have to work to ensure that the business of export is promoted. And we are working with the Nigerian Port Authority, Export Promotion Council, to ensure that all export are done with dispatch. That is what has been doing, and you have heard it from one of the major stakeholders that have testified that the work we are doing is good. They are happy. We have promoted the business of export. We have eliminated or reduced the issue of rejection of containers, return and rejection of containers. We have also sanitized the whole process. We have removed all the bottlenecks associated with export. You have heard from his mouth, that is the MD Starlink. Thank you so much.
In the era of the AfCFTA, what is the opportunity to further leverage the creative industry and really boost non-oil exports for Nigeria and even the African continent?
So I think first and foremost is monetization, right? No matter how popular Nigerian music or movies are in the US or in the UK, it's going to be more popular in Ghana, in Zambia, in Tanzania, in South Africa. But right now, how do you monetize that? If somebody wants to buy your album sitting in Tanzania, they can't really do that. So I think any opportunity which creates more markets within Africa, it has to be a plus for anybody creating content.
As Nigeria grapples with the shocks of crude oil price volatility, the emphasis should be on value addition to its non-oil exports. This will boost the diversification of the country's foreign exchange earnings.